Welcome back, Defenders. In our last update video, we talked about how President Trump's attacks against Ukraine and his attacks against Zelensky are backfiring horribly. Trump called Zelensky a dictator and said this war is Ukraine's fault. So we've got the first polling data since these attacks. UK-funded polls show 63% of Ukrainians approve of Zelensky. This is up from 57% last week. Every time Trump attacks Ukraine or attacks Zelensky, Zelensky's approval rating is going to go up, and Donald Trump's approval rating here in America is going to go down. I'll share with you Trump's polling data later in the video. But here is the attention-grabbing headline. The United States threatened Ukraine to shut off Starlink if Ukraine does not accept this mineral rights deal. Now, Elon Musk immediately denied this. This is false. Reuters is lying. But Elon Musk is a liar. All day, every day, all he does is tweet out lies and misinformation. So I think I'm going to believe Reuters. And this is who they have in the negotiations. I've mentioned to you now twice this guy, JakeBroeYT, and this guy's a Nazi, putting out 14 and 88 dog whistles to his white nationalist friends. So do I believe that a Nazi would threaten to shut off Starlink if Ukraine did not agree to an unfair mineral rights deal? And yes, I would. And this isn't an isolated incident. There were talks between Ukraine and the United States in Munich, Germany, as well as Keith Kellogg and the Treasury Secretary coming to Kyiv. So on different days, in different locations, people are telling Reuters that yes, people representing the United States government have hinted that Starlink could be shut off if Ukraine does not agree to Trump's mineral rights agreement. Now, this is crazy because Poland is now upset. Poland says Starlink can't be cut off because they're the ones who bought the terminals and they're the ones paying the subscription fee. Poland is paying for Starlink's use for the Ukrainian military. So if Elon Musk or Starlink or Donald Trump were to shut this off, this is concerning. And to my European friends, to anybody living in a democracy anywhere around the world, you need to decouple from the United States because Donald Trump has no ethical quandaries using anything as leverage in negotiations. Are you dependent on American gas exports? Are you dependent on anything? Donald Trump has no problem exploiting all leverage points to get maximum benefit for himself. I do want to share with you the reaction of Alexei Goncharenko. He's a member of Ukraine's parliament. This is his thoughts in hearing these reports coming from Western media.
I want to believe it's not true. It was in Western media. I can't prove it or deny it. Yes, it's crucial. Starlinks are very important for Ukrainian army. To switch them off means to kill thousands of Ukrainians just by one decision. I hope that Elon Musk will never do this. The price is too high. I mean, it's just cold-blooded killing of thousands of people. That's what it means to do something like this.
If Elon Musk shuts off Starlink, this would cripple frontline operations for the Ukrainian military. They are reliant on Starlink for communication as well as drone operations. And Elon Musk does want to shut it off. Elon Musk supports Russia and doesn't care about Ukraine. But as the CEO of a for-profit company, how do you justify screwing over your best customer and alienating other customers by arbitrarily shutting off their service in the middle of a war that would lead to the deaths of thousands of Ukrainian frontline soldiers until their military can adapt? I think this issue of Starlink with Elon Musk is not going to go away, and they will continue using it as a leverage point to try and force Ukraine to do whatever Donald Trump wants. So let's now talk about this mineral deal, and Donald Trump keeps lying. He keeps repeating this flagrant lie that the United States has given Ukraine $350 billion. I'm not going to play the clips. I'll always link them down below if you want to hear Trump speaking for himself. But this $350 billion number is absurd, and it's not even close to reality. And it contradicts what is on US government websites. This webpage is still up. Donald Trump might take it down. But according to the US Department of State's website, to date, as of January 20th, 2025, we have provided $65 billion in military assistance since Russia launched its premeditated, unprovoked, and brutal full-scale invasion. Since 2014, the number is $69 billion. So in the media, you're going to hear this number of 180. Congress has allocated $183 billion, but most of that stayed in the United States to increase our own defense production. Can we increase artillery production? That is money spent in the United States, staying entirely in the United States. That does indirectly benefit Ukraine and the NATO alliance if we can start up new assembly lines. But this isn't money we gave to Ukraine. And the Pentagon is disputing Trump's fictitious number of $350 billion. It's not even close to that. The official number, according to all government agencies under Trump, is $65.9 billion. So let me tell you about the details of this mineral rights agreement. 100% U.S. financial control. Trump's new Ukraine minerals deal revealed. The draft agreement requires Kyiv to channel half of its resource revenue through an American-controlled reconstruction fund. Let's see if I can explain these for you. There was the first draft of the minerals deal presented last week by the Secretary of the Treasury, and there's the revised one that's being offered today. So the first one, Ukraine paid 50% of its oil, gas, and mineral revenues to a U.S. fund until the fund reached $500 billion. There was a lot of confusion. Was there a cap on this fund, or was it just 50% of everything Ukraine had forever? And of course, Ukraine rejected this deal. One, no security guarantees, but two, what is the incentive for the United States to keep giving Ukraine military or financial help? If we assume, once again, the United States has really only given Ukraine $65 billion, and Ukraine just pays back $500 billion with no additional military aid to be provided. So the revised deal, the deal that Trump is now offering, for every new dollar of U.S. aid to Ukraine, it pays in $2, giving the United States a 100% return on all future military aid to Ukraine, up to $500 billion. So if the United States gives Ukraine another $250 billion worth of military aid over the next 4, 5, 10 years, whatever, then Ukraine will pay back to the United States $500 billion, which kind of covers the aid that's already been provided, even if you want to use the full number of it, $183 billion. This isn't up for me to decide. This is up to the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky whether or not they think this is a good deal, but there's still a problem. Where are the security guarantees? Ukraine agrees to this, but how do they know that the war will stop and that it won't just start again in a couple years? U.S. mineral deal offers no security guarantees for Ukraine. That is what Ukraine needs. In addition, attitude towards us as a colony is offensive. Are we just going to label Ukraine as a resource colony of the United States? Their natural resources belong to us because we helped them defend their sovereignty, which we should do anyways, as a democratic nation and as a peaceful nation under the UN Charter. Donald Trump doesn't care about these things. And this is stupid. Zelensky is not going to sign this. And I don't know what Donald Trump's reaction is. I'm filming this video and I can't be paying attention to the news. This is not a live stream, guys. So at the moment, Zelensky has told Trump no. He's not going to sign this mineral deal without in writing security guarantees for Ukraine that the United States will help defend Ukraine against any future aggression from Russia. So Zelensky was at a public forum, and this is what he said. The agreement between us and our partners, I want it to be scandal-free, a win-win for our people, whether for American business and our business and people. I believe this is the kind of agreement that should be signed. It should provide protection and, excuse the expression, satisfaction from the partnership, because it's no longer a partnership if there is no satisfaction. So the leader of the free world is telling Donald Trump no. Your deal is not satisfactory. Here are thoughts from Sir William Browder. Trump says U.S. wants return on Ukraine aid money. This is absurd. You don't ask for reparations from the victim. If Trump really wants his money back, he should speak to Putin instead of trying to extort the victim of a crime. I agree. Here's also another interesting thought. Why is Trump asking Ukraine to pay back weapons but not for Israel or for Taiwan? The United States provides military aid to allies all across the world. Why is it only Ukraine that is being expected to pay back funds that was allocated by Congress and delivered by previous administrations? This has never been done before. And here is the ultimate boss move from President Zelensky. Zelensky says he's ready to step down for peace or NATO membership for Ukraine. Is this something that a dictator would say? Here is the clip. I'm going to read what President Zelensky says. If it's about peace in Ukraine and you really want me to leave my position, I am ready to do that in exchange for peace. Secondly, I can exchange it for NATO membership if there is such an opportunity. I'll do it immediately without a long conversation about it. I am focused on Ukraine's security today and not in 20 years. I don't plan to be in power for decades. Would Vladimir Putin ever say this? I'll resign for peace. I'll resign for an end to this conflict. And this is what Zelensky is fighting for right now. This is what Zelensky is willing to give up his life for. The security and peace of his people forever. We're not going to do a Minsk Agreement 3 and just have this war start up again. So Zelensky is thinking long term and Trump is only thinking about this week. Donald Trump is 80, and I don't think he's going to be in office in 2029 or 2030. What are the security guarantees that Ukraine can get today from the Western Alliance to prevent the next time Russia invades them in 2028, 2029, or 2030? The Russian threat is permanent, and we need a permanent solution. And at the moment, Donald Trump is not offering that to Zelensky or his people. This is also worth mentioning that at the moment, the United States is violating the Budapest Memorandum. The Budapest Memorandum, Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons for security guarantees. Russia promised never to attack them. Russia is violating this. The United Kingdom and the United States are violating this for not helping defend Ukraine militarily. But in the Budapest Memorandum, it specifically says to refrain from economic coercion designed to subordinate to their own interests the exercise by Ukraine of the rights inherent in its sovereignty. So you can't use military threat on Ukraine to extract economic benefits for yourself. So Donald Trump is violating this clause of the Budapest Memorandum signed by the United States. Wow. Let me share with you some of the comics, the political cartoons. Here's the real peace agreement. Vladimir Putin gets a piece and Donald Trump gets a piece. Here's Donald Trump telling President Zelensky, I got your back. This one, blaming Ukraine for the invasion, blaming the victim for the crimes. You started it. And yeah, Donald Trump is doing everything he can at the moment to help Russia. Does he want the fighting to stop? Yes. Does he want this issue and war to go away? Yes. But he doesn't care about the details. He doesn't care about the crimes that Russia has committed. And he keeps repeating Kremlin propaganda because he thinks it's to his benefit. Trump says Putin has the power to take Ukraine if he wants, and Zelensky holds no cards. This is one of the Kremlin talking points that just baffles me, that if Russia really wanted to take all of Ukraine, they would have done it by now. But instead, they're choosing to destroy their own economy and let hundreds of thousands of their soldiers die to restrain themselves? This is absurd. Russia is trying their best, and their best is pretty damn pathetic. Russia has humiliated itself. Trump says that Zelensky is not important to negotiations for ending the war. I'm sorry, but Ukraine has the largest military in Europe right now. This is the largest land war since World War II. It might be helpful for peace talks if Ukraine was there to end the negotiations. So at every moment, every opportunity, Donald Trump overstates his own significance, his own importance, and downplays Ukraine. When Ukraine can always just tell the United States to F off, and they'll fight their own war. It would be helpful if the United States was on the side of human rights and democracy and the sovereignty of nations, but Donald Trump doesn't care about any of those things. And these headlines get worse. The true nature, the true direction of the Trump administration: Trump to abandon Russian war crimes prosecutions. So all of the children who have been abducted, all of the civilians who have been killed, all of the women who have been brutalized, we're not going to talk about that going forward, because Donald Trump wants to form new economic cooperative joint ventures with the Russians going forward. New U.S. resolution in the United Nations calls Russia's war against Ukraine a conflict. The Trump administration is telling their people, don't even call this a war anymore. It's Putin's special military operation. We're only going to call it a conflict. More than 1 million dead on both sides, and the United States is so laughably absurd, they're now going to start calling this war a conflict. According to Reuters, Russia may trade their frozen $300 billion for Ukraine peace deal, but with a catch. And Russia really cares about this money. I actually think Putin cares more about this money than he does where the borders are drawn. He wants this money back to save his economy, to save his oligarchical regime. And this is Europe's best shot. Here are thoughts from Ian Bremmer. Europe's best shot at leverage with Trump and helping to save Ukraine is to seize the $300 billion in frozen Russian assets and transfer them to Ukraine to rebuild, and to buy American weapons to help defend Ukraine. Europe on their own can support Ukraine, use that $300 billion of Russia's money in banks in Belgium, and then buy American weapons. That's a win for the United States, that's a win for Europe, that's a win for Ukraine, and a colossal defeat for the Russians. But there just isn't the political will in Europe to get this done. It's been 3 years. So what are the Russians thinking? And I think on Kremlin State TV, they're even shocked at how well things are going for them, how Donald Trump is playing exactly into their hands and doing everything they want. Trump's embrace of the Kremlin throws Russian elites and propagandists into disarray. Isn't the United States supposed to be a Nazi government? Isn't the United States supposed to be the main adversary and rival of Russia? And now that Donald Trump is saying and doing everything they want, it is a little uncomfortable for the Russian elite to think of America as their ally and on their side. So let me play for you this clip, or I'll read it for you from Russian Media Monitor, in which they just talk about the New World Order, what direction the world is actually going in, and how Donald Trump is a part of it. He's the one leading the way. Olga, the conflict between Trump and Zelensky is absolutely natural and objective. It's not about their personal disagreement or personal animus. I actually agree with this. I don't think Trump cares about the phone conversation from 2019 or Hunter Biden. Trump's moved on, and I think Zelensky has moved on from that as well. This conflict has a more serious reason. What is Ukraine from the standpoint of the United States? Just a vassal. I would even say a pawn. This is purely an Anglo-Saxon strategy, seeing other countries as chess pieces and themselves as a player. Suddenly it turns out that a pawn has opinions and grievances. A pawn dares to demand equality and the right to correct the player. How does a player react to it? This pawn has to be immediately put in its place. It should be flogged and reminded who's in charge and who is the last place in this hierarchy. This is actually some really good commentary from the Russians, and they are correct. Donald Trump does not view anyone in the NATO alliance as an ally of the United States that has value. They're all just pawns. They're all just vassals. Donald Trump just looks at our friends and allies in the Democratic Alliance globally and says, "What can you offer me? I don't care about you, unless you're personally serving me and making me wealthier." I know that 70% of my audience is not American, but this is important because this is going to affect the world. Trump guts the Pentagon and fires the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump fired the U.S. top military leader and 5 other officials at the Pentagon on Friday night. This was a Friday night purge that pitted White House politics against the country's long-standing national security network. This is being called the Friday night massacre at the Pentagon. And I learned a new word. Reading civil-military relations experts today, they're freaking out. Never before has a president replaced the highest levels of the military 1 month into office, plus firing JAGs, Judicial Advocate Generals. They say we're in an auto golpe territory, more so if he changes the head of Northern Command. This is a self-coup happening in America right now. Donald Trump has taken office, and if it's a military coup, that's external. But this is a Spanish word, auto golpe, or auto coup, where you are democratically elected, and then once in office, you just destroy all the democratic institutions and guardrails. We don't have separation of powers anymore. Donald Trump claims he can overrule the Constitution with executive orders. Donald Trump has also declared that the judicial branch has no power and that only the president can interpret all federal law. So Americans right now are having to make a choice. We're making a choice right now. Do we remain a nation governed by laws under the Constitution with separation of powers and checks and balances? Or do we give up on what has made America the wealthiest, most powerful nation in the world the last 250 years? And we give up on being a nation governed by laws, and we empower an autocrat to have supreme authority over everything. Donald Trump can write laws and collect money and spend money. Donald Trump can interpret all laws however he wants. And shockingly, I think about 35% of Americans are okay with this. They're okay with abandoning the principles of the Constitution to give Donald Trump supreme power to go out into the world and conquer, to make America a powerful empire. Donald Trump is not joking when he says he wants to take Greenland, he wants to take Canada, he wants to take Panama, he wants to take Gaza. This is his official foreign policy. This is what he wants to do, and at the moment he's shopping around for military commanders who will follow illegal orders. So who is this guy? Trump makes MAGA hat-wearing killer chairman of the Joint Chiefs. This is Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Resign Kane. And Trump likes this guy, and he's making him the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Here's the passage from the Daily Beast article. I'll link the article down below. But at last year's CPAC conference, Trump again shared a story about General Kane, this time stating that the general told him, "I love you, sir. I think you're great, sir. I'll kill for you, sir." But what really seemed to seal the deal for Trump was that General Kane then allegedly put on a MAGA hat, despite military protocol prohibiting active duty troops from donning any clothing with a political message. So I served on active duty, and when you serve in the military, you have to be nonpartisan. You can still have your personal beliefs, you can still attend rallies or donate money, but publicly, you cannot criticize elected officials. You cannot promote elected officials in your capacity as a military officer. And according to Trump, this guy was violating the UCMJ. But let's talk about the firing of these JAGs. Trump fired the Judicial Advocate General for the Army, Navy, and Air Force. In some ways, that's even more chilling than firing the 4-stars. It's what you do when you're planning to break the law. You get rid of the lawyers who might try and slow you down. So yes, you start purging lawyers and then shopping around for new ones when you expect to be breaking federal and international laws. This is yet again another constitutional crisis happening today in America. Here is a retired colonel speaking out. This is Mo Davis, retired U.S. Air Force colonel and law professor. He was a JAG. "I'm proud to have served 25 years in the Air Force JAG Corps under presidents who weren't felons and SecDefs who didn't have to pay off women for sexual misconduct. It's a disgrace that 3 honorable men serving as judge advocate generals were fired by 2 dishonorable assholes." Okay, so let's now talk about Trump's approval rating, and it's collapsing fast. According to new CNN polls, Trump's approval rating has gone down 5% according to CNN. This is polling after his first month. According to Pew Research, down 4, Reuters down 7, Ipsos down 8. And this is a big deal. A 5% drop in your approval rating is the equivalent of 8 million American voters changing their opinion on you. This is for a whole host of reasons, but one of them is Ukraine and Donald Trump's insistence that Vladimir Putin's a good guy and we can trust the Russians, when Americans don't actually believe that. This is important because we need Republican members of Congress to speak up, and they're not going to do that as long as Donald Trump's approval rating with American voters remains high. Once this comes down to the 30s, which is where it was when Trump left office in 2020, then Republicans will start speaking out against him again. But in the meantime, it's a cult, guys. Here is one of the speakers at CPAC, and this is so cringe.
There is no question that President Trump is the president of peace and deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for the historic achievements of his first term alone.
So this is Trump supporters once again demanding that Donald Trump be given a Nobel Peace Prize. This lady has the exact same energy as the propagandists on Pyongyang State TV. I don't get it, guys. I just don't understand why 35% of Americans are now incapable of critical thinking, and they just worship and praise every stupid little thing that Donald Trump says and does. This is what you do for a dictator, not a democratically elected president of the United States. Here in America, we do not have kings. And I don't get it, and I'm going to continue resisting it. So for me as an American, it is critical that Ukraine win this war to save my own country. We need Russia to be defeated so that Vladimir Putin and Trump don't start cooperating on and working together to reshape the world. Thankfully, the Ukrainians are still kicking ass on the battlefield. Ukraine's ambush crushes Russians racing to save North Koreans trapped without supplies in Kursk. I'm not really a big map update guy anymore because the front lines don't really shift at all, but I will link this video down below from Reporting from Ukraine. He puts out a video almost daily giving these frontline tactical assaults and defeats and victories for both sides. So I'll link this video down below if you want some map updates. Just know that the Russian attacks and the intensity are decreasing. A month or two ago, they were consistently losing 1,700, 1,800, or 2,000 a day. But Russia ran out of reserves. They can't keep up this ops tempo much longer because they're not getting as many recruits. Other news, SBU drones cut power to Krasnodar oil pumping station that supplies Russia's Avpivsky and Ilsky refineries. Ukraine is still doing their shaping operation of going after pipelines and oil depots and refineries to continue undermining the Russian economy. This is the winning strategy. Another story, a Finland-Germany submarine cable was damaged again in the Baltic, possibly sabotage. We don't have the fine details yet, but yeah, I imagine either the Russians or the Chinese were responsible for this. Okay, here's the good news, guys. We made it. German election results in charts, and we will have a new Prime Minister of Germany. I'm not an expert on German elections, but I know this is good. The AfD did not get the most votes. They got more than they did last time. This shows the percentage shifts, so the AfD gained about 10% of the vote, and Chancellor Scholz's party, the SPD, did the worst. They lost about 9%. But the new largest party in Germany is the CDU. This is Angela Merkel's old party. So the CDU is going to have to, I think, partner up with some other parties to get that 50% majority in their equivalent of parliament. But nobody's going to work with the AfD. Elon Musk did everything he could to make sure that the AfD got the most votes, and they didn't. They came in second, which is alarming, but they will be shut out. And this new leader of the CDU, his name is Friedrich Merz. He's very pro-Ukraine. He's very pro-NATO. And I'm hoping that he'll be a stronger leader than Scholz was. But check out this voting return map. These green blobs are big cities. This, I think, is the Green Party. But the CDU basically won old West Germany, and the AfD won old East Germany. This war between Russia and Ukraine has exposed a division within Germany. The scars of the Cold War and the division hasn't been healed, even more than 30 years later. So, to my German friends, thank you for stopping the AfD. They're a pro-Russian party, and it would have been bad if they had come in first. Other good news, Estonia sends 10,000 artillery rounds and 750,000 combat rations to Ukraine. Thank you so much to the people of Estonia. Japan expands medical treatment program for injured Ukrainian soldiers. Thank you so much to the Japanese. Something that happened this weekend, because we're coming up on the official 3-year anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. Ukrainian diaspora across 78 countries held worldwide events. I can't mention them all, but I'll mention some of these. The Twitter channel Anton Gurashenko is posting all the pictures and videos of people coming out to support Ukraine this weekend, so I can share some of these with you. Here's a video from Brussels. This is a video from Lisbon. This is a video from Madrid. This is Budapest, Hungary. This is Taiwan. Here is Washington, D.C. There were pro-Ukraine rallies held across numerous cities across the world. Thank you to everyone who made it to one of these events. If you go to these events, take pictures, take videos, post it on your social media. Let your family and friends know that you still support Ukraine. Final video I want to share with you is Roman. I haven't shared a video from Roman in a while, and he's still going through medical treatment for a brain injury. But he was at a recent drop-off for trucks from the 69th Sniffing Brigade, and I want to share with you his update video from the drop-off.
Hey, Voices for Ukraine, it's Roman. So another handover, Help 99, 69 Sniffing Brigade. These amazing people help our soldiers with such good cars. And these cars will help for evacuating, for supplying, for everything. And thank you for your support as always.
We handed over this amazing medevac for BACKFIRE brigade, so with your help they will save people's life on the battlefield.
Also, we have opportunity to hand over this car to amazing combat fellow with whom I fought from beginning of full-scale invasion, and also they've been in battle. They was in Azov from 2014. The Kastil guy, yeah, and Kefir, yes, and with Rick.
Hey
yeah,
guys, I was also here.
We did it together with your help. Thank you very much, and keep on support Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
It's good to see Roman again. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.